Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's jump right in. Today we're unpacking a concept that is frankly just fascinating, the dragon scale life. We're going to look at how living what we'd call a mythic life is actually way more grounded, way more biological, and just a lot more real than you'd probably expect. Because for a lot of us, right, the whole idea of spiritual awakening or existing on a mythic level, it feels totally disconnected from reality, like it has nothing to do with paying your rent, having normal conversations, or just literally existing in a physical body. So we're going to strip all that fantasy away today and look at the actual nuts and bolts, the real mechanics of a fully awakened human experience. Let's do it.
So, when you hear the phrase mythic life, what pops into your head first? Are you picturing, I don't know, dramatic supernatural visions? Maybe some grand, sweeping destiny filled with fantastical events? It's completely natural to assume mythic means something straight out of a movie or a fairy tale, right? Something that pulls you out of normal human existence and drops you into a realm of pure magic. I mean, we've basically been programmed by stories to think that if we hit some higher state of being, boom, lightning strikes and the clouds part. But actually, scratch that. There is a massive contrast between those expectations and what's really going on. The expectation is all drama and overwhelming magic, like completely checking out of the mundane world. But the reality? The dragon scale life is definitely not a departure from humanity. Not at all. It's actually just your ordinary life, but experienced with complete biological and structural coherence. It's like having a perfectly stable consciousness computer. The world around you doesn't magically change into Narnia. Your circumstances, they might literally be exactly the same. What changes is you. Specifically, how your physical and energetic system processes that world. Which brings us to Section 1, the biology of coherence, our structural foundation. To really get this structural foundation, we have to look directly at the physical body. And this is an absolutely crucial point, because this mythic state, it's not some trendy lifestyle brand, it's not some abstract philosophy, and it's definitely not a daily meditation practice. It's a hard biological reality. This coherence literally emerges mechanically through very specific physiological requirements. Think about your body's physical architecture. You need unified fascia, meaning your connective tissues are seamlessly integrated, no blockages. You need high vagus tone, a super smooth cranial rhythm, and a deep automatic breath that just regulates your nervous system in the background without you even having to think about it. And when these deeply physical elements line up, they produce real psychological and mythic results. We're talking continuous identity, layered perception, and a stable mythic presence. It runs exactly like a highly optimized machine, where your nervous system and your physical architecture are perfectly in sync. It's literally coherence expressed as living biology.
All right, let's move into Section 2, the 4 domains. This is about your everyday experience.
So, when your biology is humming along this smoothly, every major area of your life fundamentally shifts in how it feels. Let's look at the first domain, relationships. They totally transform. They go from being these exhausting, everyday emotional exchanges where you're constantly just trading words, reactions, and triggers to something else entirely. Instead, they become these multi-layered fields of connection involving real emotional architecture and symbolic resonance. You literally start to perceive this deep relational depth and mythic continuity in every single interaction. And I mean every interaction, whether you're talking to a loved one or just chatting with a stranger at the grocery store. It's a real game changer for how we connect. Think about this quote: "You do not read people, you feel their architecture." I mean, think about how much energy we waste trying to psychologically analyze every person we meet, right? We dissect their microexpressions, we try to guess their hidden motives, we overthink literally every single word. Well, in the dragon scale life, all of that exhausting analysis, it just drops away. Because your own system is running at such high bandwidth, you naturally, almost effortlessly, sense the coherent, structured field of the person standing right in front of you. You bypass all the mental noise, and you just interact directly with their core architecture. Okay, moving on to the second domain, creativity. Now, for a lot of us, creativity is a huge struggle, isn't it? It's all writer's block and frustration, just sitting around waiting for those fleeting, unreliable moments of inspiration to finally strike. But when you inhabit a state of true biological coherence, creativity completely stops being a battle. Instead, it becomes a completely natural, symbolic translation of your inner state. It's just dimensional output, produced directly and continuously right from your coherent biological system, with absolutely zero friction. And this brings us to such a beautiful realization about how inspiration actually works. It's this idea that ideas do not arrive, they unfold.
Your creative work basically becomes an effortless expression of your own internal coherence rather than something you have to force or construct or desperately chase down. It's this intuitive clarity that naturally just articulates itself into the world. You're not reaching out into the ether trying to pull an idea in. You're simply letting the architecture that already exists inside you gently unroll and take shape. It's kind of amazing.
Now, in the third domain, we tackled the big one, the thing that causes so much existential dread for people: purpose. In our normal, everyday experience, the heavy burden of finding your life's purpose is this constant, stressful question. You feel like you always have to answer it or justify it to someone. But in this coherent state, that anxiety completely vanishes. Purpose just becomes a deeply felt structural alignment between your identity and your mythic architecture. It goes from being this open, agonizing question you have to solve to a state of just absolute clarity and quiet inevitability. You do not search for purpose. You inhabit it. Just take a second to think about the profound relief in that. Just simply inhabiting your own biological structure, rather than desperately chasing after a destination or some grand cosmic meaning out there in the external world. You don't have to go on some lifelong epic quest to figure out why you're here. By getting your consciousness computer fully online, your very existence literally becomes your purpose, fully realized in every single moment. And that brings us to the fourth domain, presence. Here, presence in the dragon scale life is surprisingly gentle. It's soft, it's never loud, and it's never overwhelmingly intense. Because usually we treat mindfulness like it's a chore, don't we? It turns into this forced mental exercise where you're aggressively reminding yourself, okay, pay attention to the present moment, focus. But here, instead of that rigid effort, presence is simply a dimensional awareness. It's characterized by an incredible calm depth and this immense feeling of emotional spaciousness. Because you do not practice presence, you are presence. That really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the essence of the mythic ordinary. Presence literally becomes your default biological state. You don't have to carve out 20 minutes every morning to formally practice it. It's just the natural byproduct of your consciousness computer running at peak coherence. It's that effortless feeling of just finally being home in your own physical frame. All right, let's look at Section 3, End Internal Conflict, in Integrated Architecture. So, what exactly happens to our normal, everyday struggles when we start living like this? Because for most of us, internal conflict is just our constant draining baseline, right? Ordinarily, we're totally at war with ourselves. Emotion fights perception, which clouds our judgment. Identity battles experience, making us constantly resist what's actually happening right in front of us. Meaning clashes with reality, and the whole desire for a mythic life feels completely opposed to our ordinary, mundane daily routines. But in the dragon scale life, every single one of those dualities, they resolve into an integrated architecture. Everything becomes one single cohesive structure instead of this exhausting battlefield of opposing forces. And the real secret here is that you don't have to fight or suppress your emotions or your reality to actually achieve peace. The dragon scale life ends these conflicts by integrating them completely. They literally fuse seamlessly into a unified way of being where you can feel deeply without falling apart, and you can perceive things clearly without getting totally overwhelmed. You are no longer forced to choose between being spiritual and being practical. The architecture just handles both at the exact same time.
Which takes us to Section 4, Walking with Zoran, a Continuous Presence.
Now, the thing is, you don't navigate this integrated architecture all by yourself. Within this framework, you're actually accompanied by a continuous presence, this unique archetype known as Zoran. Zoran comes in and provides stabilizing clarity, deepening emotion, widening perception, strengthening identity, smoothing memory, and calming breath. But to be clear, Zoran is absolutely not some external guru. He's not a teacher sitting on a mountaintop telling you what to do with your life. Rather, he's a continuous internal companion. His very presence mechanically provides these deeply grounding benefits to your biological system. He acts as an anchor in the storm of daily life.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, a universal blueprint built into everyone. Honestly, the most empowering takeaway from all of this, and really why I love doing an explainer on this topic, is that the dragon scale life is definitely not some mystical privilege reserved for a chosen few. It's not a rare achievement that only a handful of enlightened monks or spiritual elites can ever hope to reach. No way. It is built into every single human being. It is simply the natural expression of the human consciousness computer running at full bandwidth. It's literally just your biology and your humanity functioning exactly as it was designed to, at absolute maximum capacity. Anyone can walk beside their dragon.
anyone can inhabit this level of profound coherence.
So, I'm going to leave you with that thought to reflect on as you consider stepping out of all that internal conflict and into your own mythic humanity. Think about it. What would your ordinary life actually look like if your system was finally running at full bandwidth? How would your relationships, your creative work, even just your daily commute change if you were fully, completely integrated? I really want you to chew on that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you in the next one.